population growth rate. And it is very difficult to measure this progress at household level, at micro level, but at macro level, there is evidence of this performance. However, we would see more, would like to see more pace, faster pace on the trickle down of this growth at our household level. The numbers, still the most critical number that the President of the Republic of Uganda has insisted on, which is the key cornerstone of NRM government, is turning the 68.9% of the peasants into emerging commercial farmers. This number has stuck at that rate. We do not see progress, especially even after the incoming of COVID.
Can I just touch there? Why is there that mismatch? The number you are saying is stuck at a peasantry level, and yet you're saying that figures don't lie. You followed it with that. I think you were following on the PS's message revelation that there has been 4.4% growth rate, right? That figures don't lie. So why is there that mismatch from what I am seeing, or am I not very right? What duration of time, what period of time must these figures of 4.4 be realized even at the level of peasantry changing into the middle income, if you like?
This is a very interesting question. At macro level, the pictures are very rosy. But at micro level, we have to dig deeper into the data. And I guess that's why we have a professor who will help us on micro level analysis. What is needed to pinpoint exactly where the source of growth is coming from? Is it coming from the household level, or it's coming from big enterprises? This research is missing. If it is available, I am not aware of it. But that's one dimension of the issue. The second dimension of the issue is being addressed right now. If you look at all the government plans, thinking about taking the services, including his sector strategic plan that is being reviewed now. They are taking services from central level, district level to parish level. You hear parish model, you hear nucleus farmer model. In the villages, we are anticipating that the new models that are being promoted in NDP3 will lead to the trickle down to us to experience this kind of progress in form of money in our pockets, in form of increased job on the farms and off farms, in form of the further increase the inclusiveness of the agricultural value chain, so that we experience spread of GDP per capita within the sector.
Okay. Mr. Gobi, I wanted to bring in your colleagues here, the guests, faster before you, but I have been pushed to bring you in immediately at this point to clear the air on the mismatch in the figures, in the facts that we are presented with, as revealed by the farmers leader here, Dr. Dick. Why is it so that you find a rosy growth rate, 4.4%, but it has been gradually increasing, but you don't find the peasants saying that we have enough money in the pocket, not enough jobs? And yet you have now said that this is the first time that the growth rate has surpassed the population growth rate.
Thank you. I think, first of all, the agriculture in Uganda is smallholder, farmer-based. And these smallholder farmers, they are actually the ones who are generating much of this growth in agriculture. The peasants, who are mainly producing for subsistence, but they end up producing most of these things we see: coffee, the poultry, and other things. Recently, World Bank, last year actually, 2019, they did a public sector expenditure, and they did a review, expenditure review for agriculture. And their paper is actually telling a lot in terms of how we've been prioritizing these resources. Much as the overall budget of agriculture has grown exponentially in the previous 5 years, thanks to the Operation Wealth Creation, it attracted money in the sector. But by 2015, agriculture was getting hardly something like 400 billion shillings.
About 500.
It has now, no, hardly 400 billion. It has now grown to more than 1 trillion shillings, mainly because of the concerted and targeted expenditure in especially the coffee subsector, in tea, in dairy, and a few other subsectors. But when the World Bank looked at these commodity-specific spending, there were very few commodities that were getting this money. Coffee was getting 6% of the agricultural budget. Beef, 5%. Crops, generally, the crops, 5%. Fisheries, 2%. Dairy and forestry, 1% each. Then cotton, about 0.2%. So the big chunk of the money was going to what we call general expenditure to the agriculture, 76% of the budget. So you find that the money in the sector, which is coming from government, and yet government is the key now investor in the agricultural sector, because private sector is not putting in a lot of money. Even banks are not lending farmers a lot of money.
Do you have the reasons for that?
Yes, because the sector is still relying on gifts of nature. The risk is so high to attract private investment, equity, even debt. Because in Uganda we haven't developed insurance. We haven't based agriculture on research. It is usually still people relying on God. They plant the seed, they go to church and stuff like that. And the banks don't, invest in such. So as a result of that, you find that even the government itself is loop-sided in terms of the way we are investing in agriculture. We have put a lot of money in the production section of the value chain, which actually, again, multiplies the aspect of risk. When you look at, for example, training, which includes extension and so on, 6% is going there. When you look at processing, 9%. Processing and storage combined, 9%. Marketing, only 5% of the money we have spent there in the last 5 years. Then other expenditures, only 4%. Production, 74%. So because of this, you'll find that we have not yet leveraged the potential of the sector. So it has been growing, but relying a lot on the side of the peasants, who OWC has been pushing to commercialize. The good news is, as I conclude, in the plan now for the next 5 years under NDP 3, the approach is going to be value chain approach, ensuring that expenditure by government is spread across the various sections of the value chain. And Operation Wealth Creation in its phase 2 is the one which planned that and included it in the NDP 3. They said you have given us a lot of money to push in the production, but this is not enough, because the farmer cannot grow with the sector if he can't sell what they have grown. Today, most of the people who are watching us, and they are farmers, their biggest problem is the market for their products, is the post-harvest losses they face, and it's because we have been putting a lot of emphasis on only one section of the value chain. So that is why there is that mismatch between the resources we have invested vis-a-vis the growth of the individual household farmers with the sector. So the sector has grown by producing more. Now Uganda is a surplus country in terms of agricultural commodities. We have more milk, we have more coffee, we have more beans, we have more maize and so on. But the farmers are not earning
from it
because we have not invested in these other sections of the value chain which put money actually down there.
Let that bring us then to the group that is trying to organize the farmers, organize industries, organize other workers. Leonard, as the Uhuru Institute, you are pushing for organization of cooperatives, of people into groups, and to ensure that some of these limitations are addressed, including training, research, and all that. Is that, in your view, from your group perspective, one of the answers or the panacea to the shortcomings that agriculture, specifically agriculture, right now is facing? Or there are other things that need to be done better to turn it into something that is viable economically?
Thank you very much, Charles, and panelists and viewers. You know, Charles, you can put a lot of money in infrastructure, in research, in OWC to send inputs, but it is human beings who deliver those things. They're the ones who go to the gardens, they're the ones who harvest from the gardens, they're the ones who milk the cows, they're the ones who go them to herd the animals or feed them, and then get the milk, process the milk, and pack and sell to the market. So human beings must be organized. If Ugandans are not organized, we could put all these resources and actually end up being frustrated. And that is why at the Uhuru Institute we have taken a deliberate position to provide for supporting the revitalization and reorganization of the cooperative movement in this country. Because cooperative is a people-centered organization. In fact, they are social businesses. They organize people to earn revenue, income from the produce they will have made, and to also get social benefits from the result of what they have produced. So if the cooperative movement had not stumbled the way it did because of a lot of our historical problems, I think this work which is being done now, the OWC officers would have found structures in the cooperative structures already ready, and especially the primary societies, which used to be at the parish level in this country. They would have to be the ones the soldiers would be going to discuss with what kind of input do you need, what is the timing, where can you get it them even best, and how much will it cost, so that when they get back to government, they will be coming with figures. But when OWC went, they did quite a good work in collecting data. But the truth about that was that there were associations, but they are not very formidable, organized people structures, infrastructure for organizing like cooperatives. Now, that's what we have been working on with the cooperative movement. I can tell you, I can encourage you that actually, I think there is good signs. Because as I talked, when I first went to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives and made a register of cooperatives in 2016 the first time, after working in the countryside for 2 years, when I met him, he told me that for some reason he had seen an increase in the number of people coming to register cooperatives. And each time they told him they were trained by a Kenyan organization called the Uhuru Institute. I said, no, I'm the one for Uhuru Institute, and we are Ugandans, we are not Kenyans. And I can tell you, from about, if you see the data...
Uhuru is synonymous with Kenya.
Yeah, with Kenya, yeah. So if you see the data in the ministry, from about 2016, the registration of cooperative went to about 1,000 in each of the years. And we are now talking about 23,000 plus cooperatives registered in this country. Of course, not all of them are doing very well, But the fact that people are working to organize themselves, they can need some form of supporting now. And it's about skills, improving record keeping, even going to the level of digitalizing, analyzing their data so that they take informed decisions about business. The second thing I think which is very important is to get our farmers to begin to look at the market, at why. To start with the why are you going to dig? Are you digging to produce just food? If you decide it is about food only, then you should ask yourself, where are you going to get the money? Because there's no other source of money you're going to get. So if your farm is going to be the one who's going to produce money, then you should think about where is the market of these products. And I think that's what Dr. Ngo was talking about. Market is a big issue for farmers in this country. And it is quite frustrating. In many parts of the country, you find maize is rotting in the crib because they didn't have the market to sell it, or sell it at very low prices, give away prices because they don't have any place to go to. But that means we have to invest seriously in markets. And I can tell you, my frustration is that if you look at the geostrategic location of Uganda and see that if you look northeast, if we had a good, serious road connection from Moroto through Kenya up to the highway from Addis Ababa, we could take products from here right up to Djibouti and sell in Saudi Arabia by road. If you look to the west, northwest, Arua, and you connect it that's through Central African Republic to Gabon, to Cameroon, to Nigeria, we could sell our products all the way up to Senegal by road. And if these are big roads that we are talking about here. So the potential of this country, having markets down south to Southern Africa, off to the north to northeast, and to the Arab world, into Central Africa, into West Africa, and to the coast off to Europe, is very high. And I think we need to take advantage of that and think seriously. It's not just about doing roads. It's about getting the people who are farming to organize themselves, be conscious that there is a market somewhere, and begin to link them on that. And that's some of the things we're working on at the moment as the Institute.
Now, in terms of your organization or what your efforts that you are putting your time into, how are you linked to the bigger, the bigger vision of the Ministry of Agriculture, that is the policy organ to implement these things? Are you linked to the Farmers Federation, for example? Are you linked to the Operation Wealth Creation, for example? How are these kinds of organizations linked, or is there a plan for that?
Well, first of all, we signed an MOU with the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives in 2018. That MOU expired recently, and we have submitted a revised MOU for renewal. And it's taken a bit of time, maybe because of COVID. It took a bit longer than it should have done to be renewed. Hopefully very soon we get it renewed, and that through the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, with the parent minister where we sit, if you want to put it, we should be, and I think this is again where it becomes very important. We need to begin looking at coordination between these government agencies, so that if I went through the Ministry of Trade, I could through them, I could link to the Ministry of Local Government, link to the Ministry of Agriculture, link to the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, and connect people to services and infrastructure under those ministries, coordinated enough to be able to do that. I do a lot of discussions with the officers in the Operation Wealth Creation, and hopefully sooner or later we should be having a meeting with them soon. I know that there's some discussion going on between us and arranging for a possible meeting soon, and we want to discuss exactly what we could do together to support the work they're doing with farmers. Because let me tell you, I can tell you, Uganda is not the first country to use the army to do these kind of things. In many countries around the world, the army is involved in road construction, in agriculture, in industry, and in all kinds of things. What is important is to connect them to the right points and to get better coordinators with all the relevant ministries that reach down to the grassroots. Because we keep talking and having numbers, the way I've just had some numbers being talked here, and we do not link those numbers to the reality of the farmers on the ground, we will do those numbers and talk very nice. I once had attended a conference in Toronto. It was about AIDS at that time, and a professor came and talked a lot of big numbers. So when I asked him to translate those numbers he was telling us to the reality of sick people in Africa, he kept quiet for 5 minutes, and everybody turned and said, that's the problem. It is one thing to have the numbers, and it is very easy to aggregate them at the national level and say there is growth. But does that growth actually mean increased household income and family well-being? And that's the challenge where we get into. Because until the farmers' products, until agriculture is creating a meaning, not only to get some money so that they also enjoy what we enjoy, they have education, they have school, they can also have good Christmas and that kind of thing. But most importantly, there is peace, happiness, and harmony in the household. Then you are not, all these agricultural products will not be very good. That's why it is important that it is not just about numbers. Finally, I think the other thing we should actually think about, and maybe two. One is research. I think we should invest in research as a nation and reduce very much having our research dependent on donor money. Because I once went to Naro in Namolonge, and they showed me a lot of very interesting research going on there, very serious research. So I asked them, where you got the money? And one of the documents I saw, there was American Defense Security Agency financing that research. So I asked myself, they're good friends of ours, fine. But if the American Defense and Security Agency is the one funding part of our food security research, who is serious about our food security? Because food is a serious national security issue. So I think government particularly need to put more serious research money in research. We should put money there. And finally, development cannot just be about projects. I went to the Ministry of Agriculture website and I saw a long list of projects. Okay? The projectization of development is a very dangerous phenomenon growing on in this country. Why? Because first, projects have a lifetime. 3 years, it ends. Secondly, a good idea of projects come and it is in 17 districts. We have 146 districts. So after the project, good ideas which have been drawn from that project end with the end of that project. They say, oh, we are still piloting, we are still learning, and then after that, when the project ends, we have not invested money in it to grow. Even this module, we are talking about modules. Did you talk about modules?
The parish models.
The parish model and all this. The thing about this, you see, those who bring the models and test them here, or the ideas, and fund them, they are interested in learning. They use us as the guinea pig to learn. What we should then do is, if there are lessons drawn out of that, we should ask ourselves a question, what are we going to translate these lessons into a national dimension? And quite a number of times, these projects do not end up with their products becoming a national dimension. They end at the end of the projects. And that's my biggest worry in the development of agriculture in this wide country.
Okay, let me go to General Felix. The new kids, so to speak, on the block in the agriculture sector, implementation of a number of things. Felix, I know that you have come recently to the Operation Wealth Creation, but as someone who is a people's representative, an army representative in Parliament, you still should by now have known, at least, broadly speaking, what has Operation Wealth Creation achieved so far. To what extent does Operation Wealth Creation, benefit the country? It is taking a national budget from the taxpayers' money. Is it value for money, if I may ask? What have you done so far?
Thank you, Charles. First of all, I'm glad you have asked me after the three.
The peasants especially.
Of course, these days, if peasants who put on suits, that's a fundamental change. Peasants who speak English, that's a fundamental change.
We are not discussing too much politics today.
So I'm very proud to have a person presenting the peasant farmers that first of all is enlightened in this area, because that's what leadership requires, knowledge on what you are leading people to. But to come specifically, what Ramadan started with is indeed a product of this initiative of OWC. Because OWC came in 7 years ago after realizing that yes, resources were being injected in the agricultural sector, but the impact was not visible. Two, it also stems from the Defense White Paper of 2004 that identified the non-war threats that the country was bound to face in 15 years' time, around this time actually. And you saw locusts, you know, food security. And I want to assure you, if you have insufficient food, you have instability on your hands. Without having to mince words, Mubarak went, may his soul rest in peace, because of bread. The beginning of the downfall of
Bashir
was bread.
was bread.
Yes. So the question of food
Even Tunisia.
Even Tunisia
Started from issues to do with
absolutely.
you know.
So it was very strategic for us to have seen ahead and plan to deal with the production sector, production and productivity of the agricultural sector, because of not only the numbers it is employing, but because it was the mainstay of the economy. So what did we go into? You know, you already start with where you have a danger, production. We had insufficiency. Now, as you have heard from Ramadan, we are a food surplus country. We have surplus in coffee, surplus in sugar production, sugarcane production, surplus in banana production, surplus in milk. We are actually the second highest dairy products exporter on the continent now, after South Africa. And this is because of the efforts put in by OWC. What did we do? We gave in inputs. Now, where the problem remained, however, yes, there is a surge in production, but there is no market. And for me, I lament, I don't like lamenting, but this one is a lamentation, that whereas in 2018 we had a bumper harvest of maize, our friends, our brothers and sisters in Botswana had produced only 24% of their maize requirement. So the deficit of 76% would have come from Uganda. So the marketing question that my colleagues talked about. In this region, East and Central Africa, Uganda remains the food basket of the entire region. So how does the farmer, therefore, from his garden or her garden, reach the consumer in Kenya, Zambia, Malawi, Botswana? That's why infrastructure is a question. And infrastructure not only internally, but regional infrastructure. So that you are able to export all the way to a man who consumes maize in Zambia. 3, having put in the inputs, the next element that OWC came into was the question of extension services, which was one of the main activities of NADS, the National Agriculture and Advisory Services. That yes, you have given them seedlings, you have given inputs. What next? Who monitors how these inputs you have given are being utilized? Who is monitoring the output? So yes, money has been invested in production and productivity. Then thereafter, storage becomes another question. So that's why in the phase 2 of OWC, we are not looking at production and productivity alone. The value chain that Ramadan was talking about becomes the issue. After the garden, after the field, how would you store the output, the produce? 2, is there value addition? Because the primary produce is very vulnerable to the vagaries of weather, cannot last long. So how would you preserve it? 3, the question of regional stability. I'll give an example to our viewers. By December 2013, a box of tomatoes in Luero here was 120,000 Uganda shillings. This is a small box, the wooden boxes. After the outbreak of the conflict in Juba, by January 2014, the same box was 10,000 in just 1 month. So instability is very, very dangerous to the agricultural producer, to the farmer, whether peasant or commercial. Now, our next interest, therefore, can we transform this peasant to stop producing for the mouth alone but produce for the mouth and the market. Because I can tell you, way back in 2014, I think.
And are you working towards that?
Absolutely.
As Operation Wealth Creation?
We have reorganized ourselves. First of all, to conform to NDP3, which have participated in producing. We have also participated in indeed refocusing the budget to address the basic needs of the farmer, of the producer, and target in agricultural industrialization. 4, Leonard talked about research. We are deeply, deeply involved in research with the NARO. The surge in production and productivity you are witnessing today is a product of the varieties that NARO has produced that are disease resistant. Coffee varieties, banana varieties, maize, cassava, that have resisted disease and are able to withstand whatever has come in, and we're able to produce what you are seeing.
Okay.
So the money spent in OWC has been well spent. Then the partnership, the strategic partnership that we are enjoying with the various sectors of the economy to see this transformation becoming not only being seen in terms of figures, but permeating down now to the household incomes. And what has been the missing link besides marketing, besides the production, the next is what NDP3 has identified, mindset change.
You talked about strategic link, the partnership.
Yes.
I wanted to know very fast. You are directly under the wings of NADS in terms of operation, in terms of implementation of the policies. To what extent is that partnership, is something you can say is sustainable or is a steady partnership to work?
First of all, I beg to correct that impression. We are not directly under NADS. We work with the NADS. And until recently, our financing was coming through NADS.
Yes.
However, we have now gained the independence of NADS. As OWC, we are going to have our own budget.
From Parliament?
From Parliament.
Yeah.
From Ministry of Finance. How finance, the allocation of resources, of course, is Parliament. But in there, you have OWC in the Office of the President being financed directly from the national budget.
So, in other words, you will relieve NADS of their
over the burden of
their current role that they play
after us. And therefore, that means whatever problems may be facing NADS as an institution will not hinder our activities.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So what I wanted to emphasize here is that whereas OWC has been known generally to be dealing with agricultural inputs, we have actually been involved from research to these different breeds that have been produced, being now given to the farmers, and also seeing them come out.
Okay. I need to bring in Kimbo or Victor. He is the principal economist, and he looks at, I guess, Kimbo, that some of the things that you critically look at the end of maybe every day or every week is that whatever we are doing, whatever we are injecting our efforts into, money into, questions have been, talked here, issues have been talked here about the trickle down is slow or even not there. As an economist in that critical ministry, when you sit back and look at the figures, you look at the impact, do you get satisfied that whatever interventions from Operation Wealth Creation, from this other sector, from fisheries, from animal husbandry, from all this crop production, that they can translate the Ugandan ordinary farmer into, that it has potential to take them into the middle income? Do you see that hope? Do you see that optimism?
Yeah, thank you, Charles. As my fellow panelists have expressed, and I'm happy that everybody has appreciated that there is growth in agriculture. Nobody is disputing that we have seen growth in the last 10 years or so. And the facts, we have figures. Now, whether these figures we are talking about, the export volumes we have, the income that comes in, where does it end? If, of course, we say we don't sit down trickling to our farmers, again, I think we need also to deeply analyze that, because where does it go? Where does it end up? We have seen, if we again insist, and everybody has mentioned that agriculture is the backbone of this economy, it employs over 72% of our population. Therefore, what do we see in our population? Do we see, when we are talking about now the impact, do we see the communities changing? At least in my area, I can see people now putting up houses that are different from the ones they had before. I've seen it. I've seen people in areas like Karangala, where we have a very big project in vegetable oil.
When you say your area, where do you mean your area of agriculture or your home?
Where I come from, that is the Chotera district.
In Chotera?
Yes. I've seen this growth. I'm seeing it. If we are talking about the impact now, not just growth, because growth, we have the figures. They can talk for themselves. We have authority behind these figures. And therefore, nobody can dispute that there is growth. Now, in economics, as the doctor has mentioned, growth is growth, and you know how it is measured, and we can compute every year and see, yes, there's something that has been added from where we were the previous years. So I think there will be deep analysis to tell whether really people can't see this trickling down to the farmers. And as Jen has mentioned, I think people have started seeing this. We are talking about transformation of agriculture. But now we need to look at it from the value chain approach, where we are looking right from production, value addition, and then markets. We need to look at it holistically. Where we are investing, we should not invest in piecemeal. For example, Doctor mentioned about our agriculture being highly risky, that very few can invest in agriculture because it is rain-fed agriculture. Now, have we also adequately invested in water for agriculture production? Have we invested in, say, fertilizer application? When we consider in the region what the fertilizer we apply compared to other countries, we are talking about 2 kilograms vis-a-vis 50 kilograms in Kenya. So where, as he highlighted, as the doctor highlighted, where have we invested, in which areas, and have we invested holistically? Or we are investing piecemeal, we just smear some little money here and there, and I think we have invested. So to me, we are on track. And now that in this new National Development Plan, we are looking at the program approach. What has been mentioned by my brother Okero about MDAs, look at MDAs, and you see Minister of Trade as planned independent of Minister of Agriculture. That is not going to happen again, because now we have jointly planned, we are going to jointly implement.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, I think, something again that is also going to help us, because as we planned from the program approach that we have embraced this time, whatever we have developed the program implementation action plan for the next 5 years, aligned to the National Development Plan. And we have a program now, it is about agro-industrialization. How do we agro-industrialize? We are starting from research, production productivity, ensuring research, as has been emphasized here, that is key. We ensure that there is extension. Juna has mentioned that. We have to ensure that pests and diseases are controlled. We have to provide water. We have to mechanize. We have to control, to provide quality inputs. Through enforcing, we have to intensify or strengthen the regulatory, the inspection function of the ministry. It's very, very important, because, yeah, we could have good varieties, but now they get adulterated. You get good seed, it's adulterated. So where is the investment in line with these areas of focus? We are talking about markets here. Markets. There's again in this new plan we are talking about market penetration. That we always, when you talk about market, people start thinking about outside the country, but we have also the domestic market, which is good enough.
Okay.
So if we could ensure quality of whatever we are producing, standards, then we can, first of all, because all of us here have bought some commodity, you go to the supermarket and you buy an externally imported, the imported product when you have the local one, because of the quality aspect. So we needed to ensure that we have the whole value chain addressed, and we invest wisely, looking at all the segments of the value chain. We have planned with the market in focus.
We need to first go for a break.
Yes.
But also, I need to say that my technical team is informing me that the PS and Margaret Muhanga's lines are now aligned. So they are going to join us immediately after the break. We had a problem with the networks, and so we had to first get it rectified. But let's go for a break right now. When we come back, we will continue with the discussion, and we are looking at agriculture as a potential for wealth creation, and also we will be touching on whether agriculture sector can attract the youth and employ the youth viably and profitably. Let's go for that break right now.
The taxpayers' appreciation season is here. We recognize, celebrate, and award Uganda's top taxpayers. Be part of the first online Bombaya Business Summits and stand a chance to win smartphones, gift sets, hampers, and loads more. Visit our social media pages to find out more.
Appreciate you for paying your taxes. We're proud to be Ugandan. We celebrate you. Oh, we celebrate
taxpayers
you.
of Uganda. We appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
Uganda together.
Uganda Revenue Authority. Developing Uganda together.
Tourism is one of Uganda's most vibrant and resilient sectors. The sector has also been the hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, and many have wondered how the sector will survive and thrive. Join us on Tourism Connect as we navigate topics on sustainable tourism development, shine a light on tourism and rural development, and dive into tourism infrastructure. Tune in on December 9th to 11th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Visit Uganda and Uganda Tourism Board pages on Facebook. Tourism Connect is brought to you by Uganda Tourism Board in partnership with UNDP.
The Electoral Commission informs stakeholders that the period for campaigns is as follows. Presidential and parliamentary elections, 9th November 2020 to 12th January 2021. City, district local government councils elections, Lord Mayor, mayors, chairpersons and councillors, 9th November 2020 to 18th January 2021. Municipality, City Division Chairpersons and Councillors elections, 9th November 2020 to 23rd January 2021. Sub-County, Town, Municipal Division Chairpersons and Councillors elections, 9th November 2020 to 1st February 2021. Campaigns will be conducted from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. and candidates are reminded to stick to their campaign programs as submitted to the Commission. Voters are encouraged to listen to the candidates' manifestos in order to make informed decisions. While conducting campaign meetings, you should wear face masks, wash your hands and observe social distancing to limit the spread of COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the Electoral Commission.
Welcome back from the break. This is Behind the Headlines, and we are discussing agriculture, its potential to spur economic development in Uganda, and like has been noticed noted, the sector employs the largest population and contributes perhaps the highest as a single sector to the GDP of Uganda. And we have guests from the different sectors touching on agriculture. We have the PS, Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Pius Wakabi Kasaija. We have General Felix Kulaije from Operation Wealth Creation. We have the principal economist from Ministry of Agriculture. We have the head or the president of the Uganda Farmers Federation. We have the CEO of Uhuru Institute, who are promoting cooperatives. In this case, we are talking about how farmers can cooperate or come into groupings for purposes of benefiting from the different interventions. We have an economist who is a member of this show, a panelist on this show, Ramadan Gobi. We have Honorable Margaret Muhanga. Her line, together with that of Wakabi, I think it was our own machines that had trouble. We are now fine, and I can see Mr. Wakabi and Margaret Muhanga. Mr. Wakabi, I'll come back to you shortly. Let me start with Honorable Margaret Muhanga. Honorable, you have stayed in the countryside for almost the last 3-4 months, and you are meeting these people, your voters, the farmers in the villages. Never mind that Fort Portal is now a city, but they are still relying on subsistence agriculture. Do you get a sense that this kind of, the agriculture, growth rate that is being talked about here as an increasing figure that is being felt at the grassroots in Fort Portal?
Yes, thank you, Charles. I think we all have different perspectives of what agriculture should be and where it will lead this country. The fact that over 70% of Ugandans are employed in agriculture means we should be investing more in agriculture. But we need also to look at that percentage, 70% of the people employed in agriculture. What is the output? Because the 90%, or let me say 95% of the 70% employed in agriculture are on subsistence agriculture, which means people are working from hand to mouth. So that means we need to have more intensified agriculture, commercial agriculture. A lot of folks in the studios have talked about having the whole value chain of agriculture worked on, because now we realize we are overproducing. We are overproducing even here in Fort Portal. The most common is matoke. The input is a lot. The money that people put to put up these plantations is a lot. But the money they get out of them is too little. Imagine just 3-4 months, a big bunch of matoke was selling at 2,000, sometimes 1,500. The highest anybody could ever get is 3,000. It's not even worth the effort of having this plantation, this neat and well-earned plantation. The other issue that many other people have talked about is financing to these agriculture-related activities. Because we rely heavily on nature, those are the natural rains, it is so complicated for any commercial bank to give money to people involved in agriculture. That also lets them down. Then the post-harvest loss. I suffered this post-harvest loss, and when I put it on Twitter, people thought it was a joke. But I had a lot of matoke rotting in my plantation. I had nobody to pick it. Even my neighbors had their own and couldn't pick it. Whenever I would ask anybody to come and pick matoke, they would be very far, and then I would need more transport than what this matoke would cost buying it from near where they are. And so we need the whole value chain. Especially now, we need value addition. We are producing a lot of milk. In Uganda, we are producing coffee, we are producing matoke, but we sell everything in its raw form. But if we are adding value and keeping them longer for the bad day, even if we didn't export, but we are selling within the market that we have, but that these crops have been made better to last longer. Because the post-harvest loss here is not only in matoke, but also in maize. Maize production is high in almost every part of Uganda, and at the end of the season, a kilo of maize is 200 shillings. So somebody has injected in a lot of money to only earn 200, and so you find people are making losses, a lot of losses in so many ways. So if we can have all the 4 value chains handled, because now the production has really been handled. A lot of people are producing a lot of food. But now what we need is the value addition, the marketing, and the financing. Once we have those dealt with, then we shall have better countries. And better people. People will be earning from their efforts. Then the other thing that also lets me down sometimes is that most countries that have developed so highly have not heavily relied on agriculture. They have heavily relied on industrialization. Of course, we cannot do without food, but industries are also critical, because even in agriculture, we need mechanized agriculture. Now that we are producing at subsistence level, somebody has got 1 acre. Where are you going to put mechanized agriculture? You will put intensive agriculture. Somebody who is living on 1 acre needs to do a poultry farm or a piggery, something that doesn't need a lot of land for like ranching, commercial agriculture, big plantations. Those ones need a lot of commercial land, which is not very easy to find in our countryside, especially in the western Uganda. A lot of people have smaller portions of land. When I travel to the north, I feel envious, because people build in one homestead and they have left all the land virgin for cultivation. So you can use tractors, you can use a lot of machinery to develop agriculture, but here you cannot. You will be passing through people's homes, very small households, which are close to one another. So such highly urbanized areas or peri-urbanized areas will need intensive small farmer holdings where they do intensive agriculture but earn well, like a piggery, like a poultry farm, somebody would have it on less than quarter an acre, but unwell.
Okay.
So therefore, government needs to look at that angle, which are already operation wealth creation has been factoring into their work or their operations here. They look at the area, they look at how much land holding people have, and then they give them implements according to what they have on ground. And I think if we went that way and also developed our technology in agriculture, then we can have agriculture as one of our best. It will bring people's needs, save people, give people income, and also use it as a commercial viable entity.
Okay. Let me bring in, thanks Margaret. Let me bring in the PS. Mr. Wakabi, a lot of issues touching on value addition, quality assurance, the issue of enhancing standards, you know, within the value chain, agro-industrialization. At what point do you think that as a sector, the country can start seeing these stages reached? Issues of quality assurance, issues of standards. Do we really need to industrialize for that to be achieved? Or we can actually start ensuring that, you know, even now, especially if we provide well for things like post-harvest handling?
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. I'll go straight into the question by mentioning that when you industrialize, you need raw materials to feed these industries. And the production and productivity component is really addressing that. Whereas our colleagues have mentioned that already the country is having a surplus, the NDP3 is addressing all these issues, and I'll take you through systematically through the pillars of NDP3. The first one will continue to focus on production and productivity of all the strategic enterprises that we are looking at in the value chain approach, in order to provide raw materials to the factories that are coming up. Maybe in another presentation, we shall be able to tell you what we have lined up. And this should be sustainable supply of raw materials. My colleague mentioned about investment in water for production. We've really done a lot in terms of investment in water for production in order to stop relying on the nature that has been talked about. Again, these investments are all over in the country. We have some in the west, we have in the north, northeastern, including the central, in order to see that the country does not get affected by the effects of nature. Now, after we have produced, we need to look after the post-harvest. Are we harvesting the right products at the right time? Are we drying them very well before they are stored or before they are processed? Now, here we are addressing the issue of quality, looking at also the issues of aflatoxins that have been talked about in recent times. Now, once we have the right quality that can command value on the local market, regional market, and international market, then we shall be able to be competitive and addressing the issue of farmers having their products not getting the market. And here, government has realized this, and we are paying special attention to this. Now, there are two other pillars which are in NDP3, supporting the three fundamental key issues of production, value addition, where we have agro-industrialization for raw materials, then competitiveness, where we have the quality and standards. Now, we have the issue of affordable agriculture credit with insurance. Again, you are going to be seeing a lot of focus and investment in this area, in the program approach. But above all, one of the colleagues mentioned the issue of the people. This is the institutional capacity. What kind of capacity are we building in the country for all the people that are dealing in the sector, not necessarily in the agriculture sector? We have those in the trade sector. We have those in the local government. We have the military. Do they have the capacity to deal with the agriculture in which they are involved. All this we've got to look into it, because most of them in the military are also still wanting as far as the technical expertise is concerned. All this we are addressing, and they are actually really moving very well to see that they are supporting us in a manner that is technically competent. Now, having done that, we are focusing on how are we going to succeed in this delivery. We have come up with the nucleus farmer model. My colleague didn't elaborate the oil palm project, which is centered around the nucleus farmer model. This is how we are going to be delivering with all the colleagues in the Ministry of Trade, Ministry of Finance, the local government, and all the other key stakeholders, whereby the farmers are organized in groups, where we have the cooperatives, which were mentioned earlier on, but also have other farmer groups, including the circles. All those are going to be paid attention to in this program. Now, after we have produced in a given locality, or in a manner that we can have those raw materials reach the factories, then we should make sure that we put there a facility that off-takes the raw materials or processes that has been produced in a quality manner. Again, you can't be able to achieve that if you don't have the affordable credit through the UDB for the relevant factories or through the other financials that we have. That's why we're talking of the affordable credit and affordable insurance in order to reduce the risk that has been mentioned earlier on. Having that, the nucleus farm model also has the credible agriculture inputs, which should be supplied to the farmers in order to produce the products in a manner that is required. All that has got to be done in an organized way, in an affordable way, but being coordinated by the extension staff, where a lot of focus has been put, both government and private sector. So once that is done, we are going to be seeing a lot of synergy coming from each and every pillar of the strategy to see that it is supporting one another in order to reach all the markets. Today, our milk has gone to places. Of course, we still have these intermittent shortages of the market, but people are really looking for a market. And for the dairy sector, whereas we are still having those challenges, we are going to continue benefiting a lot more. I don't know whether Mr. Odongso, Charles, you are aware, we are the only country in Africa that exports casein, which is a dairy product, to the US. And if at all we increase production in this area, US still needs more of our casein, and government is paying more attention into investing into that area. As we speak today, His Excellency the President has negotiated a market in Algeria. The Algerians have accepted our dairy products, powdered milk, and our producers are about to begin exporting to Algeria. And other markets are being interested, for example, Nigeria. So we believe in the dairy area, we are going to be sorted with the increased number of processors. The same applies to all the other value chains. As we speak today, our neighbors come to pick the raw materials from Uganda, mainly the maize, because we didn't have enough capacity to produce. But a lot of investment is being put into this area so that we have more of our products go out as finished product. And this will translate into money to the people. Of course, people are saying you can't see this money, but you know, this is information that we can get from research. And we expect UBOS to conduct research recently to know how much there has been a shift from the previous census to where we are today. Because nobody can credibly tell you that people are not having this money without figures, or people have money in their pockets without figures. For us, we use what we have with the growth and the figures that we can get on a monthly basis. So I believe where we're moving forward, things are going to be very nice for our farmers. They will be having more income if we increase with the momentum that we have, with all the support that we have from all those key stakeholders, with OWC, with the cooperatives, farmer groups, and the government has really invested a lot in this sector. And you can see there is a lot of goodwill to add much more to see that we realize this dream of agro-industrialization.
Okay, we need to look at some of the other perspectives to this. The question has been talked about, Ramadan. Agriculture credit. Is this one of those areas making life hard for our farmers? To what extent? And at what point can we start seeing a shift for the better?
Can I give information as the doctor is coming here?
Yes.
That the EU,
yeah,
the European Union,
yeah,
has a policy of supporting farmers. You can imagine the German Chancellor receives support from the EU because she's a dairy farmer.
Mm-hmm.
So how will your dairy farmer in Uganda, who is not supported, compete with Angela Merkel? That's the information I want to give Doctor before he comes in.
Thank you, Geno. Thank you, Charles. I think, like the PS has said, we have in this country put more emphasis over the years on subsidization of the sector using public resources. But we've failed on de-risking agriculture to attract private finance in the form of, moving from funding to financing. The two are related,
but different.
But it's slightly different. You will never have enough money to fund agriculture. But if we used that funding we have to de-risk the sector by investing in areas which will make a farmer less risky, so that this farmer can be able to borrow money from a financing entity that itself has been de-risked. Because in Uganda we don't have, for example, a bank for the farmers. The farmer is competing with mortgage owners, is competing with the traders, is competing with even speculators for the same money in the commercial bank. And banks, as you hear that word commercial, they came to make money. And the best area to make money is from speculative ventures. Somebody is going into real estate to build a house and sell it. The bank will find it easier to give such a person money. But to lend a farmer who is not even in charge of the variables which affect agriculture, because these variables are many. Sometimes I ask people, mention for me the key requirement of a Ugandan farmer. What does the farmer need? What is his problem in Uganda? So that we sort it out.
He needs land.
You will find that
he needs water.
There are so many variables. You attempt. You will spend the whole
day counting.
Problems. In other words, you cannot solve a farmer's problem in Uganda without solving everything. And because you can't solve everything, that's when the role of the state changes from just funding agriculture to de-risking agriculture such that it can attract credit. Now, the good thing is that this is where now the new planning is looking at. How do we move the resources that government has been using to subsidize the farmer to now de-risking the sector to attract more funding, so that we can now just finance the farmer? Instead of giving him a few inputs, you take them in a pickup like a coffee seedlings. How do we make sure that the farmer can start looking at this coffee farming as a business, and then he goes and get good quality seedling of coffee by using resources? Himself knows that he has calculated the return on investment and will be able to pay back. That is where now the new thinking is. It is within the manifesto and also in NDP 3. And it is a very good idea.
Doctor,
but
if you could answer this as well.
Yes.
I remember, I think it's about 2 years ago or 3, Central Bank earmarked money.
Agricultural credit facility.
Agricultural credit facility. And gave certain commercial banks. What happened to this money?
That money was like throwing a heap of sand in the ocean. It was little money, first and foremost. because
was it used for
from that time up to
was
today.
Was the little utilized?
Yes. But it was also utilized in such a way that it wasn't well packaged at the beginning. Because now you are creating two baskets. The banks already have their own money. And remember, these are commercial banks. They have their own money to lend. Their problem is not money. You bring yours and you say, lend for me 100 billion. Add on 100, you lend at 12%. So the banks were like, you have come to distort my market, and you want me to be part of the distortion. So they made it difficult for the average farmers to access the money. But eventually, that was solved by giving them what we call block allocations. They give them the money, and they are the ones to assess as they were doing before, and they lend at 12. So the banks now were looking at this money as getting free money from government at 0 interest, and then you lend and you earn 12. Okay. So it was as good as the other 24.
I need to...
I wanted to first finish. Those were not mine.
Interjections.
But very quickly.
In 1 minute, if possible.
There are about 3 or 4 things, yes, which to me I think we must do very quickly in Uganda. Number one, let us agree that agriculture must be science-led and industry-led. Don't do actually task farmers to cultivate things which are not going to be bought. So by industry-led, you mean that an industry has been put in place and farmers are contracted to supply that industry. We call it contract farming. If that can't be done, let those farmers stop being, put into agriculture. Secondly, we need to reduce the number of people who are in agriculture sector. I think it was Honorable Margaret who hinted on it. Uganda will not transform when everybody is in agriculture. Countries transform when they create non-farm opportunities to attract those people who are in agriculture for just survival, or they are doing a hobby. Like I was born, my father was a farmer, I have also to farm. No, you must farm when it is a business. Alternatively, younger people should be attracted into factories, into tourism, into other sectors, such that they can leave land for the plots to expand. Okay. But now the plots are too small. Okay. And finally, I think the issue of cooperatives, we need to emphasize it. When we are just forming these farmer groups and so on, there we are just trying to really massage a problem. The issue should be cooperatives. The good thing is that now government is saying all of the cooperatives which had died, they are going to be revived, the 36. Then where there were no cooperatives, they are going to create new ones. And that brings me to my very last point, a policy on policy implementation. I think the only policy we haven't written in Uganda, when I was listening to the PS of Agriculture, everything he has said there, if we were to implement that, Uganda will transform agriculture. But now, the point is, are we going to implement those things? That is the policy I want.
Leonard, I wanted to bring you at that point. There are a number of things I wanted to kick into this discussion. Do you think that it is possible to revive or re-establish a farmers' bank like the dead Cooperative Bank? What needs to be done? Can it help the farmers achieve some of the gaps that we are looking at in agriculture? And then the other thing was no. Actually, that question I will bring to the peasant philosopher.
Yeah. Good. Thank you very much. The PS said something which will help me answer your question. He said, well, the policy now is to organize, help cooperatives organize, and have the circles organized. That's exactly the problem we are having with the cooperative movement in this country today, where people think circles are different from cooperatives. A SACCO is a saving and credit cooperative organization. It is a financial cooperative. And so we must understand all these peasants, all these farmers have financial problems. Their biggest problem is affordable finance, which is secure enough and flexible and simple enough for them to access. That agricultural credit facility, I would like to, if anybody has the data, I would be happy to find out how many peasant farmers went to Bank of Uganda and got it. They can't. So what do we do?
It was housed at Bank of Uganda.
Instead of wanting to create agriculture producer cooperative separately and SACCO separately, I brought something for you people to look at here, for each of you. Please share. I think this will help you. Go back to it and look at it.
This is like a teacher now.
Yeah, this is serious. These are serious matters.
It doesn't have COVID?
What? It doesn't have COVID. I did a Uganda water somewhere here. The point is this. Every village cooperative or every cooperative union should have a financial enterprise, a producer enterprise, and a marketing enterprise in one institution. That triangle, what they call an integrated cooperative. In our laws, they will be called multipurpose cooperatives. That is what we have decided to go for. Because every peasant you go to, you say grow coffee or grow cotton, then they have a financial problem. So there must be a place they can save. If all our farmers were saving in a SACCO, so when we pay them, when we sell their coffee, we pay them in their SACCO, in the account in the SACCO. If we want to buy something, they also give us a check from their SACCO or a pay slip from their SACCO. The SACCO pays the other supplier, and everything will be done in a triangle. First, it will reduce their pressures of running around looking for, and the market will be easier to access the market jointly, and be easier even for government to know that if I go to cooperative X, I'll find a finance part, I'll find a marketing part, I'll find a producer, processing part, so that it's easy for me to deal with quality, deal with the market, and deal with financing. This question with the cooperative bank, Mr. Ngowi, actually, with a multi-purpose cooperative, we can actually get this small cooperative to sharehold in that. Let me tell you, there's big money in this country. 8 years ago, I sat with the staff of Mokwano Enterprises in Lira. And I asked him, how much money do you people spend in Lao sub-region? Do you know what the man told me? This is 8 years ago. He told me the last 3 years we have consistently spent an average of 40 billion Ugandan shillings buying sunflower and oilseed crops in Lao sub-region alone. This is 8 years ago.
Now that's about 2009, 2010, 2010, 11, 12.
It was then that I met this guy in 2009 actually. That tells you there is actually, about 10 years ago, that tells you that actually this peasant, when this money comes, it's of course drugs. If there was a place there where they can save properly, and they're organized, and it is properly licensed and secure, it would be easier to save this money. And if this money was also paid into their SACCO, then they would sit to plan on how to get it. But when you go with a heap of money in your bag, you will start using it carelessly.
And 40 billion is enough money to start a bank,
you
right?
need 20 billion.
Because you need 25.
Yeah, 25 billion. So that's one sub-region would have to have a local bank. So what I'm saying is these SACCOs actually would then become village banks in every sub-county in this country. Therefore, if I write from my village, I know that my account is in my SACCO. If I sold something, I will find money deposited in my account. That would expand the financial inclusion we talk about. But it means all farmers are members of the SACCO. Every member of the SACCO is also a member of a marketing department. It would be one integrated cooperative institution running. That is what I think will help us reorganize financing, processing, production, productivity, and marketing.
Good. Meaning therefore, Dr. Dick.
I want to assure, before you go to the doctor, I want to assure the cooperative guru that actually that very idea is included in the parish model.
Thank you very much.
They are developing it from the grassroots.
Thank you.
But the problem with your team is that you need a policy on implementation of your policy. That's your big problem.
You need to be implementation of your policy.
Dr. Dick, from the energetic and passionate presentation of these colleagues, it means your colleagues, the peasants that you lead, actually can put up a cooperative bank to ease, agriculture financing. Do you support that idea? Do you want to buy into it? Do you want to? Do you think it is one of those things that this country, government, people like the Ramazan here, must ensure that it works to spur, the economic growth in this country, through agriculture?
Thank you very much. In the long run, it is a solution.
How long should that run be?
In the long, in the medium term, let's look at a 5-year, 10-year agenda. That is a feasible solution. Yeah. But in the short run, we have the sense of urgency now. Many of the people who have spoken my predecessor have mentioned the difficulty of credit. Yeah. By the way, as a farmer now, I will prioritize finance as a key issue here. Farm finance. The professor has mentioned the money was little, but the truth is ACF has been in place for 11 years, since 2009. Yeah. But if you look at the numbers that those who have accessed finance,
ACF being
the credit facility.
Yes, they are less than 1,000.
Less than 1,000?
Yes,
across the country.
Yeah. less than 1,000 farms. But you can also do this integration, this aggregation of these farmers to assess how many are smallholder farmers. Honorable mentioned something about the size of the farm and the quality of the farmers. How many are those who access that farm? So this finance that is pushed under SCF, pushed under UDB, is not finance for commercialization of 68.9. So the question in UNDP, I guess the PS is listening to me, the professor who participates and the member of parliament, you have to go and reflect. We can commission professor to do the research and look at the people who actually got that money, under what circumstances, the stringent requirements. I said I'm an educated village philosopher, but do I have records, for instance, to be able to get audited books of accounts to get that money? I do not have them. I personally have attempted through those banks to get the money. I couldn't. So first step in this era, in the next 5 years, UNDP3, in NDP3, there must be a mechanism of delivering farm finance to the 68.9%. There are new models. Digital finance is a model. Digital financing can be explored. We need research in here, how to deliver small amount of money to small holder farmers using digital tools. That's something we can explore as we explore a bank. But there is also what we have seen, Honorable Member of Parliament, also our partner in this struggle. There is a competition between agencies. I am yet to see the delivery of programmatic planning under NDP3, but UNDP, I'm not sure whether UDB, Uganda Development Bank, will accept the emergence of a farmers bank.
Must it be the one to accept? No, if the farmers want, if there is a model that Leonard is talking about,
we don't even need them.
Especially for you, Dr. Dick, yes. You are a farmer's representative. It is also like the scenario that we have, that General has talked about with Ramadan. You do not expect someone who is interested in another growth, like the banks, but you want to force them to use what you have to benefit them. But within your...
By the way, Charles, for your information, the Cooperative Bank was never closed. What was closed was some company called the Cooperative Bank. Not the Cooperative Bank itself. It is registered and alive with the Ministry of Trade.
I am very sure if I had my way with my farmers,
yes, you would.
By tomorrow morning we will have our bank running. Yeah. But there is a monetary policy here, there is monetary authorities here. I guess the professor can tell us. You don't just come around and establish a bank. There is a regulation that is, and once it goes into policy and then policy for policy implementation,
the legal
it's going to be a very difficult thing.
I can understand
what I would recommend is looking through, especially when we have members of parliament here, looking through the available channels simplifying them and to see the delivery mechanism of credit to the farmer.
Okay.
That's number one of recommendation. But in the next one, my other thing I needed to see how we can quickly transform smallholder farmers out of subsistence is to change the incentive structure. Incentive is the key motivator. It is intrinsic. You will not achieve all these things if you are not generating a motivation from within. And the generation of motivation from within will respond to incentives. That is one of the key rules of basic economics.
Okay.
The moment we change the incentive structure and participate, allow the farmer to participate along the value chain, an inclusive value chain, we will see, even in 5 years, in NDP3, a transformation taking place.
Okay. There is someone called Douglas. Leonard, this is especially for you and maybe Ramadan. Douglas says, Mukwano Group actually spent 94 billion shillings in Lango sub-region and Bunyoro on sunflower and soybean in the 2015 season, 2015. Remember, there are other players as well. There are even 2 seasons a year.
Yeah.
Meaning that the money could be bigger than what we are now talking about. Mr. Chimbo, I think, I need you to tell us briefly about the involvement of the young people. And I ask for the young people because I'm so interested in them, because you see, if we are talking about National Development Plan 3, and I therefore believe that this is a plan for the future. The future is not in many of the people who are handling the country, managing the country currently. The future is in the young people. They are about 70 plus Ugandans. Whatever we are discussing, is it possible to align it to the interest of the young people?
Yeah, thank you, Charles.
And you can tell us whether the ministry has some of those plans which are targeting more the young people, making agriculture, viable for them, attractive for them, profitable, they can see it and feel it.
Yeah, Charles, colleagues, we will appreciate that with the value chain we are talking about here, the youth might not necessarily be very much interested in the production segment of the value chain. But when we go to the other segments of value chain, say value addition or processing in this case, or marketing, they are there. And they are very much interested in this area. And as a sector, of course, we have already developed the youth strategy in agriculture. We have it. It is in place. So as maybe Doctor highlighted, the issue is now implementation, where we still have this challenge. But I think we have seen more youth now starting to appreciate agriculture, and along with the value chain, trying to ensure that they are part of this value chain. And we have figures to that effect, that the youth now have embraced agriculture, but not necessarily from the production side, much as still we have some few, more so in horticulture. We have the youth interested in horticulture. We have youth interested in aquaculture. We have quite a number.
But is it possible, Mr. Chimboa?
Yes.
Do you help government to ensure that where you are involving the youth, it should be based on some form of research? I say this because a few years ago, I don't now remember, I think in the last election, government came up and gave the youth some, high quality cows. But I can tell you, I knew some cases, more than 3, where those who were given in Kampala left them here. They sold them and went and drank the money. You know, now that meaning, how could you give hay, maybe, you know, certain breeds of cows for a young person who lives in Kampala to take to Karamoja? Meaning that you did not do research, and what they do, the best need, the most immediate need for them, urgent, is money. No. They sold cows which were worth 1 million. Some of them sold at 500 to their colleagues who can take them maybe to Chankwanzi, take them to places, you know, within
those are goats. There's no cow of 1 million.
Charles, let me jump in on here based on experience.
Yes.
When I'm not at the farm,
yeah,
I hang around with young people at Makerere University as a teacher.
Yes.
And what I have gathered, it's an area of key interest.
Yeah.
We must be looking at a new generation of farmers.
Your fellow teacher is laughing that yes, you are really denigrating the teaching profession that I hang around.
Yes.
But
we need a new generation of farmers.
Yes.
And the new generation of farmers are not going to be those who are going to follow cows in the bush. They are not going to be those who are going to hold the hanger a hoe in there, neither drive the tractor. The agriculture where is going, even AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
You can send a robot to look after 1,000 cows in the or entire sub-county, and even be able to detect heat, whether the animal needs to be inseminated, to be able to detect whether it is sick. That information will be, whether you challenge me or not, in the next 10 years, whether you like it or not.
Charles,
yeah.
Yes.
When do we need robots when human beings are not
the question is going to be an agriculture that is going to be competitive. He mentioned regional markets. He mentioned international markets where our products have to be. If we cannot produce at least cost per unit, we cannot compete even in our own markets.
Okay.
Who hasn't seen eggs from South Africa here? Who hasn't seen oranges from Israel here? So we must, even in NDP3, I haven't, I've submitted my views on this one, but even in NDP3, we must anticipate the impact of technology on agriculture. And lastly, if you look at most of the ICT companies now are being driven by young people. So the question is identifying those young people and giving them the necessary support. Number 3, the old-fashioned extension. I know my PS is listening to me. The old-fashioned extension of even taking an extension work at the village, at the parish level, must be phasing out in NDP3. NDP4 must have a new model of extension service.
But I will disagree with you on using robots to look after cows because they are still unemployed. So why should you use robots?
But Charles, this concept of youth do not want agriculture is something I struggle with, because I've met many young people who have gone back and are trying agriculture. It is the lack of paying back. The business of agriculture is very, very difficult. That's what is chasing them away. Not that youth don't want to go into agriculture. Secondly, what is saying we're not getting right is, the more we digitalize agriculture and cooperatives, the more we will attract young people. To date, we just introduced a profiling of each of the cooperatives we are working with, and very soon they attracted a young person to work there. And the young person got a job and started with, and they began to work. They work. It is where we can find them. Whether if we don't go to Facebook, we don't go to social media, we are not going to find these young people and discuss agriculture with them. That's where they are. So the only thing is digitalize to get them.
So we have to, in other words, we have to take agriculture to them.
Precisely.
Someone told, you have reminded me of someone who told these MPs that you have failed to bring development to us in the ghetto. We shall bring the ghetto to you. But that's another joke.
Where I was going.
Yes.
Agriculture innovation.
You should also tell us whether OWC is taking agriculture to the youth.
our thinking is the youth must be involved in innovations.
Yes.
Because they are young, they are brilliant,
energetic.
You need to channel their energies, both mental and physical, into innovations. They are very critical in applying the new technology. So whereas we have the question of unemployed youth, what Dr. Dick is bringing out is real. You will only make sense to them if matters are new and they are in the realm of modern technology, using social media, enabling them to use data to think outside the box. But they must be encouraged.
You want to wow them. They want to say, wow, this is amazing.
Yes, you must wow their brains to think how to get better than where they are. But a critical pillar of NDP3 that I thought the PS was going to bring out is the question of mindset change.
Yes.
That for an individual to change his or her environment, the individual must be tired of what he or she is living in. That given what I have learned, given what is available for me in terms of technology, how do I change my situation to earn and be better?
Okay, good. Chimbo, you had started on the question, then your colleagues came and interrupted you.
We crowded you.
But I had wanted you to tell us more about whether the youth are focused on within the ministry, deliberate focus. And I say that with another, deliberate attention, because, when you see riots, when you see, many of the youth running onto the streets, you start asking yourself, did the ones who have lock-up shops, who are selling boutiques, who are selling second-hand shoes, who are looking after their cows and goats and and chicken for eggs, did those ones also run onto the streets? If not, then you'd start knowing that actually what needs to be done is to help this youth have something to do.
Yeah, Charles, the ministry has indeed focused on youth, and we have a clear direction. We have, when we are developing the ministry development plan, aligned to the national development plan, we have a clear section on cross-cutting issues. And definitely it cannot be, there's no way they can approve such a document without that section being handled. Having it is not just having it on paper, but we have a very clear strategy of involving youth in the agriculture sector. We have it as very well documented. And also the issue they have highlighted here of digitalizing agriculture, it is also well structured in that document. Okay. We have talked about the E that we need now to change and think about in the NDP4. In fact, it is not in the NDP4, in the current NDP3. We have already addressed the issues of E extension, where you talked about physical visiting. Now it's no longer the case. We have it, it's well documented, and we have already even started on that. We have the E extension being undertaken in the ministry. So digitalizing, we saw it that it's one area, because the youth are innovative, that could attract them in agriculture, and it's well captured in our ministry development plan.
I know that we have come to the top of the hour, but we have a culture here. The panelists, our permanent panelists here, Honorable Muhanga and Ramadan usually ask the guest questions. Margaret, can I request that we keep the questions short so that we finish in the next 10 minutes if possible? Can I invite Margaret, ask the visitors we have, punchy questions, and so that we can get out of here. You can start with the PS who is on Zoom as well.
I will ask one general question to everybody.
Okay.
After posing to them what I think is very critical in this discussion. And the last segment of what you said has triggered me to think about this critical mass of youth that have not been involved in agriculture. So to the OWC, to the people of Ministry of Agriculture, I want you to focus on the youth. So my question is, what plans do you have for the educated youth that are jobless and for the semi-educated youth that have no interest in agriculture? What plans do you have to interest them in agriculture so that you can tap into their energy, tap into their innovation, and also develop the country alongside those lines?
Good. Thank you so much. I'm going to start with General. What do you have for this uneducated youth who are jobless, and then for the she said yes.
First and foremost, the NDP3 indeed focused interest on this critical mass. In fact, we are addressing the question, is the youth biology a curse or a blessing? And we are saying it's a blessing. One, it's a market, but two, it's a production force. Now, but the production is not the traditional way. If you notice, as I think it was Dr. Ramadan who mentioned it, that the youth are mainly moving into the service sector. Two, that you can employ them in value addition. Yes, you have agricultural production, you have products that have come from agriculture. Skill these youth to add value where they get money quickly.
Okay.
So skilling is very critical. The other aspect of this is that the majority of them have moved to the urban areas. So you cannot focus on the traditional agricultural sector.
Yes.
Rather, as you put it, bring development to them by providing the necessary skills that suit the market today.
Okay. Chimboa.
Yes.
The question of Margaret.
You and I.
What plans do you have for them?
As I mentioned earlier, what will attract the youth, what we have included in our development plan is to ensure that, one, we look at areas of their interest, and that is digitalizing the agriculture. And of course, when this is done, and already we have seen, and in some subsectors of the economy where they're interested, and we have seen them trying now to join that this area, more so in value addition and in marketing, and they are there.
Okay. Dr. Dick, plan for the youth.
Thank you very much. Again, I return to my radical point of view. Accelerated digitization, but empowering. At this phase, I am calling upon policymakers who are going to be implementing NDP3 to identify, take stock of the skills that are the digital skills, and benchmark them with. Let me give you an example. China is rapidly using technology within agriculture, and this, if we are looking at Asia as our export market for our product, we will be blocked, not only China but India and the like. So what would I precisely, if somebody is going to give me 3 seconds to take home? Let's get to the youth, identify the skills that can accelerate agricultural transformation, train them, give them the necessary resources that they need. The resources that are needed within this, essentially within this decade of 2021, 2030, are different from big land, big whatever. That's what the Honorable was speaking about. Intensive agriculture, hydroponics, all those kind of stuff, but they can be done using the digital skills that you need. So formulate, instead of sending now one of the budget Honorable sending the the extension workers at village, at parish level. Remember, they are saying not one extension worker can look at all the crops. There are so many varieties of crops. There are so many, so it is too much knowledge. But that's with a digital extension, you are able to cover many because you can store it, and that you don't need more than one skill to use to do that man extension on a computer at village level. So we should be looking at innovation hubs at village level, or innovation hubs at parish level, or we have 7,500 parishes across the country. Those innovation hubs can be put there. Okay. There is a guy who is doing a very good job, Innovation Village around, I think he has in Tinda. That model can be spread across the country. Begin with the extension workers that we already have at sub-county level and empower them, retrain. Okay. And after retraining them, then bring the user on board, the youth on board to innovate, adapt to the technology that is coming from outside, but also empower ourselves to generate that technology.
Okay, Leonard, plans for the youth?
Well, we are relaunching a program called the No Excuses program at the Wool Institute, which is really about digitalizing, about aggressively taking risks and learning new skills and ideas and innovations for young people. We do youth camps and do a lot of mindset change and business training and skills development. It's amazing. Okay. Every young person who are left, some of them are actually in parliament, some of them are farmers, some of them are in business. So they're in all kinds of spheres of life, which we've been training. The second thing is, I would like to say that we'll continue to talk to government about digitalizing the cooperative movement, about digitalizing the farmer sector, so that young people who use the digital systems actually can get into it. And finally, I think we should begin to understand that commercialization does not necessarily mean square miles of land. Because I think there's one problem in this country. People think commercialization means square miles of land. Intensive agriculture in 1 or 2 acres, you could do so much and produce so much money if you know what you are doing in that 2 acres of land. Or that's very important. Secondly, with science, you can do a lot of other things, a lot of intensive agriculture, and produce so much money in a very small place of land. And there is a lot of small mechanized technology, small hand-driven tractors, whatever, which can be used in those small pieces of land and still produce so much. But there is a tendency to think that we must bring huge tractors from Germany and move them around. Yes, those are needed for the big pieces of land. Where there is no big pieces of land in urban areas, peri-urban farming, we may want to go for intensive farming and still produce so much that can be marketed here and abroad. Thank you.
Okay, the PS is online. He hasn't responded to Margaret's question. Mr. Wakabi, are you online?
Yes, Charles, I'm online.
I need you to respond to Margaret's question. What plans do you have for the young people? In 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much, Charles. I want to start by using very simple, understandable language, in that the youth, show them the money, they will go where the money is.
I thought that is every human being.
When Boda came, we saw the youth selling land, coming to the city, riding bodas. Today, we are seeing the youth selling bodas to go and do gambling, this betting, famous betting. Those are not sustainable. But if we show them the money tomorrow in agriculture, believe me, they will leave the gambling and they will go to agriculture, because they're innovative and they want to get money very fast. But I want to take you a little bit back to what our economists gave you. Mr. Gobi is there next to you. Really, the solutions and even the answers to the youth are really in agro-industrialization. Once we industrialize, we are going to provide market for the raw materials. It means everything that is being produced, either it will be consumed immediately or value will be added, and there will be need for constant supply, so that everybody who produces will be able to sell their products. And that is the key pillar into moving the youth into this area. Point number 2, organize the farmers. We've been calling it cooperatives or farmer groups or whatever. Once we organize them, it means they will be able to command for a good price for their products, and they will be able to be given whatever services that require in a much more organized way than how they are today. So I believe that will take us a long way to move the youth into the sector. But going back to what we have for the youth, we've got quite a lot, because last year we launched the youth strategy in agriculture, which was sponsored by USAID. Then we took the youth into what we called the Disruptive Agriculture Technology Challenge, where we selected the best performers into supporting us. For example, they are supporting us in the sector. The e-extension we are talking about is being provided by these youth, and you are going to be seeing a lot of this being rolled out in the NDP3. And actually moving forward, we've seen companies coming up for the youth. For example, Accordion, which is providing Accordion Company Limited, I believe you are aware. They are providing a lot of extension services in the country, and these are youth. And many other related services into agriculture, and they're employing themselves. We've got very many examples of youth who have left formal employment and now they're into agriculture. For example, doing supplies, and we've seen them succeeding, quite a number of them. These cases can be brought up on board. So we believe once we show the youth where the money is, and with the robust NDP3, the youth will move into agriculture. And we must remember, the private sector must be supported. These initiatives must be private sector led.
Okay.
Government should provide a conducive environment in order for people to go into the sectors using the forces of demand and supply. Once we have demand, the youth will go to supply whatever is being demanded to get the money. And to me, I believe the biggest package we've got for the youth is the NDP3 and the enabling environment.
Thank you, Pius. Now, lastly, Gobi, question to the panel.
Be quick. I would want the three, actually the two, the PS and the General Kraige, to add on that, strategy for getting the youth. Now add on the how you are going to make the Ugandans who are in the 68%, who are in subsistence. What strategy are we using in the second phase to ensure that they stop being comfortable in subsistence? Because for them, they don't see any problem with what they are doing. You're actually disrupting them. So what strategy do we have? For the economist, my fellow economist, which agricultural commodities can you tell Ugandans that have the highest multiplier effect, so that they can put effort where they are going to make money? And lastly, to the two farmers, the two
representatives of peasants,
the representatives of educated peasants, how are we going to make the cooperatives, which we are reviving, avoiding the past mistakes that killed them? How are we avoiding that? Thank you.
General, you can start.
Charles, I had mentioned earlier, and I think I got a bit diverted, that one of the programs of NDP3, which is program number 18, is mindset change. That for you to get people out of their comfort zone, they need to realize that there is a problem. So, what's the problem? Identify it. Or involve these 68% in asking whether they can change where they are, or they think everything is available. Once you do that, because however much money you are spending, if somebody doesn't realize that is the problem where he or she is, you're wasting that money.
Okay.
So we must orientate the mind to look at the need to grow out of your situation.
Okay.
I mean, if you have a city where people are comfortable cooking near a sewer, they are cooking food and they are eating, surely there is a problem.
Okay.
So mindset change. Number 2, skilling. Honestly, for somebody to come out of university with a degree in psychology, sociology and political science in today's Uganda, it's a wastage of money, it's a wastage of time. So in the education sector, that's why it is multi-sector. UNDP3 is looking at these different, it's no longer sector looking, it's about what do you want to do and who are the stakeholders in terms of government departments and agencies that need to come together to address this. The question of education. Technical schools were opened, but a number of them are either empty or half empty, because we still have this thinking that one must have a degree irrespective of what the degrees are about.
Okay. Mr. Kimboa.
Yeah, thank you, Charles and Doctor. Yeah, for me, the commodities I would think of with the higher multiplier effect, I'll talk of horticultural products, then animal commodities. We talk about the poultry, the piggery. There's a lot of the higher return from those commodities, and maybe would add aquaculture. Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Dick?
Quickly, I spent a few hours in economics class, but look at how many numbers of poor people are employed in each of by these commodities. Coffee is an example. I would think if empowered, it would accelerate the migration from poverty to commercial farming. I don't know. We don't have very adding cereal sector here. If we were to accelerate very addition on cereal sector, we import around, when you add the cereals, the vegetable oils and the water, we import around $1 billion. If you round up 930 something million US dollars. But those are raw materials which are produced here locally. We can stop that importation. The NDP3 targets that to be reduced by 500 million in 5 years. But I think PS, we can be able to eliminate that completely if we focused on developing that sector. Now, on the issue of how can we avoid the mistakes of the cooperatives, I think this is a very hard question on my part, the expert on this. But me, what I've been looking at is the hybridization. The good thing in the paper he has presented to us, any entity that is organizing farmers, they can look at, because when you look at the model he has put forward, it is able to incentivize, create incentives for participating in agriculture production, because you will be able to market. The essence of cooperatives is to have a bargaining power. Any tool that empowers you to bargain, to increase your proportion of income, it will be a good tool. So in that sense, again, I return to what I had said. Let's innovate on how to incentivize the farmer, whether I incentivize to negotiate as a group, or incentivize as an individual, or incentivize as groups in that case.
Okay. Leonard?
Well, on the question, cooperatives had both external and internal problems. The external problem was really political and the insecurity and instability we had in the country, which affected every sector of the economy and every part of our society. So please, the generals, the politicians, please maintain stability. We want peace and stability. Without peace and stability, we all get in the mess. It's all of us, not about cooperatives alone. So we must all recognize that peace and stability is good for all of us, not for only one person. And therefore, it is all in our interest that there is peace and stability, so we can be able to do all we can do. That's number one. Number two, internally, we need to deal with skilling and learning of members, leaders, and managers. Members, managers, and leaders. These three, I isolate those three because a cooperative is as good as its members. If the members are not serious, the cooperative will not be serious, because almost all decisions are taken at the AGM. All major policy decisions by cooperative are taken at the AGM. And the first customer of the cooperative is its members. So for a successful cooperative must be worried about not only about the revenue and income going to the household of every member, but also the social impact on the family. That means every cooperative would better be integrated enough to provide for where I get my money, how my household is selling our products, and how it is benefiting the social well-being of the family well-being. That will make us succeed. And I think it will be fairly different from what it was. Because in the past, from the time Churchill accepted made peace with cooperatives and helped them get the factory, whatever, in the 1950s, up to the time they collapsed, they became more of just a tool for producing the cotton, the coffee, and selling to the market and going to the UK. Or to Europe for that matter. They must become integrated enough to deal with the members' problems and providing market and solutions and other problems for the members. That is when we become a real cooperative, different from what we have had. And that means transforming even what we now have the unions to think like that. And we cannot be able to do that. It doesn't stop them doing their coffee, their cotton, whatever, but it means they build a lot more interest in what the members are and begin to have more accountability to the members. Because from 1970, when the law changed and the minister started appointing sector managers of cooperative unions, then the accountability went to the minister and not to the members. Okay. And that's how we lost it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Wakabi, can you respond to that question to finalize the discussion this evening?
I missed a little bit on the few words. It wasn't very clear. Kindly repeat the question.
I was asking, what strategies do you have as a ministry to incentivize those people who are in subsistence to actually interest themselves in commercializing? Because for them, they are comfortable. You are the one who's distorting them.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll correct that impression with another one, which is on projects. First, we've repeatedly mentioned that we've got to organize our farmers, which we are doing with the colleagues who are in cooperatives. We need to organize these people to produce a given specified enterprise. For example, I'll talk about an island which used to be very poor with very low income, which is Kalangala. Those people are organized. We put them together in a model we talked about. Today, Kalangala is one of the areas whereby household income has greatly increased. And this is happening even in other areas. It has been tested and it works. So for the farmers, we are moving away from actually free distribution of inputs to subsidized inputs. And I beg to disagree here that some projects really end, and they end there, nothing goes on. We've got a sustainability plan for the projects. For example, we've got the agriculture cluster development project today, which is meant to work a transition plan for the free distribution of inputs into subsidized inputs. Today, we are already operating in 57 districts in the country where farmers contribute and government subsidizes. Eventually, we are moving towards that model. We believe all the farmers should be able to join in. And those ones who are unable really to subsidize the small percentage, definitely they will fall off. They will have a natural fall off. And they will go into other areas whereby agriculture will be occupied by people who are serious, who are commercial, and are able to do it. Believe me, there will be something else people will go into if they can't do agriculture, provided all the aspects, all the pillars are put in place. I'll give another example of a project which has worked very well with the sustainability plan. We've got the resilience project, which is working in northeastern Uganda, Soroti, Karamoja. It's a regional project. We put up markets for these areas where farmers are now able to take their products to these markets and they are able to sell. These markets are on even at the end of the project. We've got improved breeds into these areas. The Karamoja area has had predominantly the Zebu cow, but now we've improved their herds in most of the areas with the Saiwa breeds. We know these breeds mature very fast, and as they are calves, they come out as very small, so even the Zebu can produce a hybrid of that, and we believe they mature faster with the more beef and the more milk because they are good at that. We've got actually a couple of projects I can talk about as you mentioned. So I beg to disagree on this part, that projects are not good, they just end and they don't provide a solution to the needs of the people. To me, I believe, and I'll go back to the NDP3, it has been properly crafted with those stakeholders consulted, everybody having in an input. If it is properly supported in a program approach, it is going to deliver for the people, and it is going to be private sector led. And private sector led, let us not distinguish the subsistence farmer from the commercial farmer. All of them are going to be helped in a manner that they are going to support the country. Subsistence farmers and the large-scale farmers, all of them contribute to this economy in their own way, and they will each take up enterprises that can fit into the size of the land that they have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pius Wakabi Kasaija, the PS Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. I want to thank you very much, Honorable Margaret Muhanga, our panelists on the show, all those joining us through Zoom. But in the studio, we had the Brigadier General Felix Kulaije, Army representative, and also recommended to Operation Wealth Creation. We have had Mr. Chimbawa, Principal Economist at MAIF, and Dr. Dick, who is also a lecturer, but is the president of Uganda Farmers Federation, together with Mr. Leonard Okello, the CEO of Uhuru Institute, who are promoting cooperatives in Uganda. And lastly, Mr. Gobi Ramadan, a panelist on this show. Thank you very much to you out there, the audience that ensures that this is the #1 program that you watch. Let's keep it here. Let's keep it UBC. And let's keep it especially behind the headlines every Wednesday, 10 to midnight. The entire technical team here, thank you so much. I appreciate you spend sleepless nights on every Wednesday to ensure that this show comes out successfully. To the many producers that I have, Ivan, Bills, Morris, William, Fred, and the rest, thank you all very much. Until next week, God bless you all. Remember, as we continue to share, COVID has become impossible to handle. Let's not pretend about it. Now you have to take care of yourself. Really take care of yourself. Mask as much as possible. Social distance as much as possible. But most importantly, frequently wash your hands with water and soap. If you can, try as much as possible not to touch your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. You will survive unless otherwise something else happens. But try sanitize as much as possible. Try as much as possible to take care of yourself. Many people are dying now, and I think yesterday we lost 12 people. We got over, I think, 666 in a day cases. The day before, we got, I think, 700. So COVID has become COVID, and the hospitals are overwhelmed. There is nothing to shy away from. Young people, the hospitals are overwhelmed. And in some hospitals, just take it from me, this is a fact now, you are admitted and they discover you have COVID, you must put down 5 million shillings before you can be treated. How many of you out there have that money? How many Ugandans can afford that money? And yet, you can just do a simple thing, avoid publics, avoid crowded places, and just prevent yourself from acquiring or getting infected. Let's all try the best to save our lives, but most especially to save those who are more vulnerable around us. God bless you all. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Join us for the Thanksgiving prayer this Friday at State House Entebbe, 2 p.m. live on UBC TV.
Thank you, Kapo. Hey, Kapo, I see you really worked hard to get your business to this level. Who are you voting as a president in 2021?
You're not supposed to ask me such a question. It is my secret. I cannot even tell my wife, not even my children. But anyway, I'll vote for my business.
Share. How do you vote for your business? Will it even be on the ballot paper?
It may not, but I'll tell you this. I'll vote for that one person who will guarantee the prosperity of my business, who will make my business not to be disrupted at all, who will ease my transportation and my clearance of goods from border to Kampala, and I'll vote to secure my business's future.
Don't gamble with your future and that of your beautiful country. Vote Yoweri Kaguta Museveni on 14th January 2021 to secure your future.
Wake up to Good Morning Uganda, weekdays on UBC.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
In order for me to be able to answer this question about what are the top problems in Kampala, you have to have walked in the 135 villages of Kampala Central, which I've done. And for me, the most prominent issue is unemployment. So what we need to do is to move away from job seeking and look at job creation. Job creation is a big possibility in Kampala because, number one, we have a very entrepreneurial group of young people.
Somebody to stay with. And
improvisation is what we're doing, and we've been talking about this for a while. Improve is in there. We're improving. We're starting with nothing, with only what we've got. We're improving.